Hey guys, it's Shanille Rose. Today's video is going to be a little different than usual. So as you can tell by the title of this video, today I turned 20 years old, and in celebration of that I thought that I was going to do what I did last year, which was pretty much a 19 lessons thing that I learned when I turned 19 years old. So this year obviously I'm turning 20, so I thought I would make a video on 20 things I've learned in the 20 years, the 2 decades that I've been alive for. I will say one weird thing about turning 20 is that it's like turning into an adult for the second time, because you turn 18 and then you're not legally like a child anymore, you're an adult, but then you turn 20 and you're like, wow, I'm not a teen. My age isn't 18 or 19, I'm an actual adult. It feels weird. So let's get right into it. 2 decades of being alive, so 2 decades of things that I have learned. Alright, so the first thing that I've learned is that the best things in life will come when you stop searching out for them and you prioritize yourself. And I don't mean that in a selfish way at all, as, put yourself first and ignore the needs of everyone else, but in a way that you need to stop people pleasing and how you need to prioritize your own happiness when you've been neglecting it for a certain amount of time in a certain area, and how when you start to really focus on developing who you are, you'll start to find the things that you might have been looking for, good relationships, friendships with people that you really value their time and people you actually are really close to. I will say the past year in particular has been an interesting experience with having really good friends, because my first 2 years of college I've had interesting friendships that have faded away, very short-term, short-lived. And I guess it's not so much that it's been a shorter friendship, it's that I really like deep and emotional connections with people that we can talk about all this kind of deep stuff and not, surface level, what's the weather like over there, that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that, friends I've met before this year were not good friends. I have some really good friends that I've stayed in contact with that I've known for years since high school, and those are very special friends to me. But it wasn't until college came around that I had a hard time making friends. High school, for some reason, was really easy. I've always had big friend groups, and, I clicked with so many people, and it's interesting, and then, you get to college and things change. I'd say that all started out with my 2 very good friends, Jordan and Natalia. We went to Sedona together and we went cliff jumping last year. It's one of my favorite experiences, even though I don't know I would go cliff jumping again, but it was still really fun. So those 2 people taught me this whole city girl phase, which was its whole thing, and I had a lot of fun getting to know them. We were all co-workers at the time, and we just had a lot of fun getting to know each other, messing around with each other. It was just a really good friendship. After that, I got to know another coworker of mine named Marissa, and her and I became best friends. And so I would say that I would not be where I am today without those 3 people. Those people have really changed my life, and I'm so glad I got to meet them, but I wouldn't have gotten to meet them if I wouldn't have been myself more and really put myself first in a way, not in a selfish way, but in a way that I was caring for myself and making sure I was doing what was best for. Sorry, my nose is itchy. Anyway, I was doing what's best for me and not trying to mold myself into something I'm not so that people would want to be friends with me. The second lesson that I've learned sounds pretty self-explanatory and basic and duh, but it's that if you don't practice, you will not get better. Now, of course, duh, if you don't practice something, you're not going to improve at it, but this seemed kind of not there in my head when I wanted to work on drums or when I wanted to work on cello. For example, a year and a half ago, I bought a drum kit. I'm just kidding, I did not buy it. I got it for a Christmas gift. For example, a year and a half ago, I got a drum kit for Christmas, and I was ecstatic. I was so excited to learn to be a drummer. I was already learning drum beats with drumsticks on my bed. I was like, okay, I'm ready. I'm gonna be a drummer. But the thing is, I practiced a lot for those first 6 months, and then I'd say in the past year or so, I didn't really learn any new songs. I stuck to the songs that I knew how to play, like Heavy Dirty Soul and Levitate and Stressed Out, and these songs that I was like, oh yeah, I can play on the drums, and I'm just gonna keep playing them over and over again. And while that's great, I was getting better at my timing with those songs, and I was really focusing in on those songs in particular, I wasn't really improving in any new areas. I learned the same lesson when I got a cello. I'm renting it out right now, and you really feel how valuable something is when you're renting it, because you see it pop up in your bank account every single month. But yeah, that's one thing I had to learn. Owning a cello does not make you a cellist. The next lesson I've learned in turning 20 years old is that you shouldn't hold on to things too tightly. When we're having really good things in our lives, we really hold on to them and cling on to them, And I think that's a good thing as long as you don't get overly attached, but I think one of the biggest examples was my job at the time. If you guys know me, I worked at Chick-fil-A for almost 2 years, year and a half, something like that. And I was planning on staying there for a long time. I actually, I wasn't sure exactly how long, but I loved my job and I was very happy with it. And then coronavirus happened. So at the time, I thought I wasn't going to be working for a couple months, and then those 2 months turned into 3 months, which turned into 4, and then I started thinking, well, when am I going to go back? And I know everyone's job situation has been different with COVID. Some of you have been able to work the whole time, some of you have had to leave your jobs. And for me, it was just a matter of, I was thinking, when am I going to go back? And then I had to really realize, I don't think I'm going to go back in the short term, long term, the medium term. And so I ended up leaving the job, and it was very hard because I never, ever would have imagined myself leaving in 2020. But it's something I ended up doing, and I had to realize, you can't really hold on to things too tightly because they're gonna leave. Of course, that goes for everything, certain friends, certain memories, all these, kinds of things that we love. Everything's pretty much temporary, and so it's just something that you have to keep reminding yourself. The one thing that is constant in everything is change. So yeah, that's not to be a Debbie Downer or anything, but you do want to not hold on to things too tightly and understand that the good things that come through your life, just enjoy them as they come and don't hang on to them because you're not going to be able to let go of them when they force themselves out of your life, Like no one expected COVID to happen, but it did. Speaking of quarantine, the next thing I want to talk about is how Animal Crossing is an amazing game to get you through so many hard times. For those of you who aren't familiar, Animal Crossing is this really cute game where you have your villager, and it's slightly different depending on which game you play, but the most recent one that came out is New Horizons, which you've probably seen everywhere, but you have your own island and you have your villagers. You get to interact with them, craft items, design your island, do all this all kinds of cool stuff. Anyway, Animal Crossing New Horizons came out pretty much right at the start of quarantine, and so it was all I was doing for the entire duration of quarantine. And I enjoyed it so much. It kept my mind busy. It's a really positive game. There's nothing crude or gross about it. It's a fun game. So if you have not gotten that game already, whether it's on the Switch or any console that you might have, I would 100% recommend it. It is such a good game. It is a little addicting though. Also, huge shout out to my video game buddies, Kristen and Chad. I used to, before quarantine and stuff, I used to go over to their place, play video games, we'd play Mario, all this kind of stuff. It was so much fun, and I really miss doing that. We get pizza, Popeyes, whatever. I really enjoyed that. I do miss them a lot, but I will say, yeah, shout out to them and check out their channels. I will link them somewhere on this video. This is a lesson I learned actually pretty recently from one of my favorite YouTubers. His name is Joey. He has a YouTube channel called Better Ideas, which I will link somewhere again on this page or in the description. I'll link it in the description. But yeah, it's basically about how reading all these self-improvement things, like reading how to get better sleep, reading how to exercise more often, reading how to not procrastinate on your homework, will do absolutely nothing for you unless you put those things into practice. Because yeah, it feels really good to read all these things, and then you get this internal sense of that you're doing something, even though you're really not. You're just kind of informing yourself. And it's true, at the beginning you're informing yourself, you're learning all these new things about the sleep cycle or procrastinating and all these things that will come in handy. But after a while, you just keep reading the same things over and over again. I read this thing on Reddit that was once you read 3 self-improvement books, once you have read 3 self-improvement books, you have pretty much read them all, because it's true they do say a lot of very similar things. I read Think and Grow Rich a while ago, and I've heard on Reddit that it's actually just a very tell you what you want to hear kind of book, but I don't know, it was helpful, I guess. But yeah, there's no point in sharpening your sword. The metaphor that Joey kind of used is you're an army, you're a soldier, you're someone with a sword that you're gonna use, you have a sword and you want to use it, so you spend all your time sharpening the sword and becoming really good at sharpening the sword, and the sword is so sharp and perfect, but then you never use it. You just never go out and fight the actual battle, so what's the point? Yeah, you get that little sense of accomplishment inside, yeah, my sword is so sharp, I'm gonna be so good at this because I'm ready, but then you never really push yourself, and then you never use it, so what's the point? Exactly, no point. I don't know. Next lesson that I've learned, and this one's kind of crazy, but collaborating with others is not as scary as it seems. prime example, my now friend Nate, who has a really amazing YouTube channel, which I will link again. I don't know where I'm gonna link it, somewhere here, down here in the description, I don't know. But I'll link it somewhere. He reached out to me, and at the time we had never really spoken, like, with the exception of the comment section. Anyway, him and I hadn't really had a conversation one-on-one, with the exception of commenting on each other's videos every once in a while. So when I saw an email from him, I literally had the exact same reaction that he had to me when I responded to the email, which I thought was crazy. But yeah, we ended up doing a collab, and collabs are not something I'm very experienced with on YouTube. I haven't really done many of them, as in like reaching out to someone. I've done some collabs where I've like gotten my friends and we've done stuff together, but as for reaching out to someone or someone reaching out to me on YouTube that I don't know personally, not familiar with it. Same goes with Zoom calls, same goes with business meetings. Like, putting myself out there, collaborating with people, it's, you know, it's scary. It seems really scary, and it kind of is. But then once you do it, you're like, it's so cool. And then now Nate and I have made a cover of Smithereens, which is on his channel, which I will link somewhere. The next lesson, sometimes you gotta get risky. This one has more to do with money, but when you're younger, you have a lot less to lose than when you're older and you have a family and you have dependents and all that stuff. When you're young, I mean, yeah, you have important things like money and like, you know, stuff, but chances are you don't have as many things relying on you as you will when you're older. So if you see my last video from when I turned 19, one of the lessons I learned, I talked about stocks and stuff, and I really wasn't investing that much in the stock market. I put a little bit of money, but it wasn't until coronavirus hit that I like really started thinking in terms of the opportunities in like the growth, the potential growth, and then you really have to think about like what I'm putting in there. The next lesson I have for you is that you can definitely live without social media. Even if you think you can't, you can. As of right now, I don't really have social media on my phone. I have YouTube, but that's, you know, to interact with comments, so I guess I do have social media. But I mean things like Instagram, well, I don't have Twitter or Snapchat, so I don't keep up with those, but Instagram, Facebook, I used to have them on my phone, go on them all the time, and then things started getting kind of crazy and weird on social media, and kind of toxic. Yeah, it wasn't my thing. So after some long hours of thinking, I decided to delete social media off my phone, and then from like that point, I've had it on and off. Like, I'll download Instagram on my phone if I'm gonna post on my story, because I'm not gonna like carry my laptop and myself, you know. But for the most part, if I want to use Instagram, and I still use Instagram and Facebook, but I do it on my laptop because I'm not always carrying my laptop around with me. I'm not tempted to always check it. Next tip, massages feel a lot better when you're older. When I was little, I used to hate massages. I mean, like, I didn't see the purpose in them. My dad would be like, oh, you're like sore, you need a back massage, and like, I just felt like, ugh, like, what's the point of like moving your muscle? I don't know. It's just like, it didn't feel good. But then I got older, and I don't know, I mean, there's just something like my back's sore all the time, my neck is sore, my arms are sore. I work out and like it hurts, and then getting a massage just feels so good. My sister's really good at like using her thumbs like right here, but yeah, massages feel so much better. So if you're a kid and you hate massages, just wait till you're older. The next thing I wanted to talk about is how you want to talk to the camera like it's your best friend. You might think this only applies to YouTubers, but no. Chances are with COVID, you probably had to record yourself a lot, do a lot of things virtually, and it's kind of weird, like the first time you put a camera in front of yourself, and then you sit there and then you have that little like internal monologue where you're like, what am I doing with my life? I'm literally sitting here talking to myself with an inanimate object in front of me. It's just kind of weird. But then over time you kind of get used to it, and then you start talking to your camera. Like, you just have to be like in it. Like, you gotta get into it, be in it in your head. Like, if I overthink it too much, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm sitting in front of the camera and talking to it. Like, it's my best friend. Ew. And now I'm a little more comfortable with it, so that's good. Now this next one you've probably heard a million times and you're sick of it, but do your work as soon as it's assigned. I procrastinated so much, pretty much every single year of high school, and I would tell myself, oh, I don't really procrastinate because I don't have late assignments. Like, I try to be a good student, and I, you know, don't submit things late, but I still save things till the very last minute, so that's not good. But it wasn't until this year, junior year of college, where I was like, okay, I'm actually gonna try something. So you have a timeline. Beginning is the date you receive the assignment. The last date is the day that the assignment is due. And then halfway through is that 50% mark. My goal was to get all the assignments, for the most part, done before that 50% mark so that I would have all this like free time, like there's not as much stress, you know? And this doesn't apply for everything, of course, like studying for exams is kind of a constant thing. Group projects can't really rely on everyone 100%, so you know, that can't apply for everything. When you trick yourself into thinking that your deadline is sooner, you get the work done sooner, and then you're not really stressed about or panicked about assignments and deadlines coming up. Like I don't really remember feeling stressed or anxious about a deadline with the exception of exams and stuff like that. Next lesson, you set the tone for your day within the first 10 minutes of your day. For example, if you wake up and you spend the first half hour to hour of you being awake, laying on your phone and going through social media, which I do a lot, your day is gonna be sluggish, you're gonna feel tired, your eyes are gonna hurt, you're just, I don't know, it sets the vibe kind of weird for the rest of the day. You're just like, ugh, like why? I don't know. It's weird. And that's something I'm not too good at, but it's something I try to remember because there have been times when I've woken up and I go outside with my dogs. I don't even check my phone until later. I just kind of vibe with my family and then I check my phone for later. Like it just feels so much more refreshed, you know? It's just better. Next lesson, we are on number 13. Your body does not care if it's quarantine or not. I'm saying this because when quarantine started, I was like, oh, well, it's, you know, it's quarantine. No one's really gonna see me, so I don't really have to work out. Well, I mean, do I really have to eat healthy? No, we started eating like Cheeto Puffs all the time, Doritos. So good, but you have to eat them in moderation. Saying that it's quarantine and you're not gonna exercise because it's quarantine is just, I don't know, it's kind of like an excuse, which I used a lot. But yeah, if anything, I realized quarantine was a reason for me to like try to get fit. I started doing Chloe Ting's 2-week shred, and I say started because I didn't finish it. I was pretty close too. I was halfway. Anyway, I've been trying to stay fit more, go on runs more. We have a treadmill now, so I'm doing that. But yeah, that's a really hard one for me, but still try to stay active during quarantine because that is hard. The next lesson is Biscoff is the best thing to ever exist. Now, if you are not familiar with the wonderful thing that God has blessed us with, it's Biscoff. This is not a paid promotion. So this jar right here, this is cookie butter, and this cookie butter is amazing. I mean, you can pretty much eat it with, this sounds like I'm sponsoring it. I'm not sponsored by anyone, I don't have any sponsors, but Biscoff is so good. It was introduced to me by an old friend in middle school or high school, early high school. Her name is McKenna. If she's out there, hi. She has blessed my life with this Biscoff. It is so good. It goes great with Nutella, it goes great with apples, it's great out of the jar, it's amazing. It's the best thing ever. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you gotta try it. The next lesson is worrying about the future ruins your present, which in turn ruins your past. I feel like I sound so weird, but what I'm basically saying is that I spend a lot of time like overthinking the now, like what's going on right now, and then I start worrying like in the future, am I gonna regret what I'm doing right now? Like, am I even living life right now? Am I wasting my life? And then you start to freak out. But then the thing is, if you're worrying about life right now, you're like making the present about worrying about the future. So then in the future, when you look back on the past, which the past is right now, sorry, I'm explaining this like it's a paradox, but it's true. You look back on today and then you're like, what did I spend my past doing? Worrying about now. What's the point of that? And I mean, that is so much easier said than done, but yeah, it's important to at least try. What is wrong with my hair? All right, next lesson I have for you is that cancel culture is awful and it's just best to try to distance yourself from it because it's not cool. Next lesson is number 17. If you don't know what you want to do for the rest of your life when you graduate high school, good luck trying to, no, I'm just kidding. If you don't know what you're gonna do for the rest of your life when you graduate high school, it's okay, you probably won't figure it out for a while. I say this because I didn't really figure out what I wanted to do until like last night. No, I'm kidding. But like over the course of this past month, I was thinking like I kind of want to do something related to finances, but I don't know. It's a long journey and things change. When I graduated high school, I wanted to do computer science. I wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to code, and I imagined myself like just coding things and, you know, computer science, all of that like smart people stuff. That's what I wanted to be. And then I started college and I took some coding courses, and what did I realize? I hate coding with all my heart. Like if I had to do coding for the rest of my life, I don't know what I would do. I really don't like it. So yeah, it's just a matter of figuring out what you want to do. You figure out through experience. I mean, I didn't know I hated coding. I thought I loved coding until I actually coded and I realized it wasn't my thing. My next lesson is that family time is heavily underrated. I used to never play Monopoly with my family. I used to never play Scrabble with my family. But then quarantine came, and a lot of things about quarantine obviously suck. But then, you're kind of locked in your house. At least it was that way for me anyway. With your family, and you're like, what are we gonna do? Well, we started playing Monopoly. We go on for days and play Monopoly and Scrabble and Sorry and Uno and all these kinds of games. And they were so much fun, and I want to play Monopoly every single day. I learned that Monopoly is my favorite board game. It is so much fun. And yeah, you can play Scrabble on your phone. You can play Monopoly on the Nintendo Switch. But in my opinion, it's just way more fun in person. Alright, we're almost done with this list. Lesson number 19 is hang out with people who make you feel better. No, wait, what? Lesson number 19, hang out with people who make you a better person. I mentioned her earlier in this video, but my best friend Marissa, her and I are very close, and we have both talked about the positive influences that we have on each other's lives, because we're both very similar. We talk about being the same person, but we are also very different. And it's very cool because she, one of her passions is the environment, and I'm not very familiar with the environment, even though I said last year I was learning. Yeah, I'm learning, but compared to her. So her and I got together, we tried to make we kind of made reusable bags together, but it never really worked. I just brought my reusable bag. Anyway, I started using reusable bags because of her. I know she uses a metal straw, carries it around with her. It's super cool. I kind of got into that stuff and learning more about it. She's learning more about it. It's very cool. Yeah, just hang out with people who make you better, who teach you things that, are generally, good. And of course, no one's perfect, but, finding people who are good influences on you is a very cool thing. Alright, my last lesson I literally learned last night. When you're trying to fall asleep, use rain sounds or nature sounds or all that good stuff. I have a really hard time falling asleep. My brain is really busy. It's saying stuff all the time, thinking things. And I just had a really hard time falling asleep. So what did I do? I listened to a podcast for a long time. And the problem with the podcast, it would work maybe 20% of the time, but the other 80%, wait, 20, 80, yeah. The other 80% of the time, I would I would listen so closely because the two people in the podcast, which is called the Inforium now, so I'll link that in the description, but Martin and Tom, they are my favorite YouTubers, podcasters, people I look up to, I don't know. But they're very interesting, and I would find myself just sitting there and thinking about what they were saying and reflecting on it. I was yeah, go off, that you're making sense, And then I wouldn't fall asleep, and I have my sleep timer on, and then my sleep timer would shut the music for the podcast off, and then I'd sit there and just stare at the ceiling and go to sleep in silence. I fell asleep with rain music last night, and it was very successful. Anyway, that was kind of a long video. If you have watched till the end, thank you so much for watching this video and subscribing to my channel if you have done so. If you haven't, it's totally cool. But your support means the world to me, and I really love talking to you in live streams or in the comments section or however you want to reach out to me. I'm so down. Love talking to you guys. It's the best thing ever. I'm very thankful for the platform that I have, and I'm even more thankful that I get to talk to people like you guys. And so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, or things quotes or pictures of the Lion King that you want to show me, comment and comment below. Don't be afraid to comment. I love to talk to you, get to know you, and yeah, let's have a chat party in the comments. I will say turning 20 feels very different. I don't know, I feel like I'm not a child anymore, considering I started this YouTube channel in 2013. Things have changed a lot, but I'm very happy to have turned 20 years old today, and I'm very excited to see what the future of this channel holds. Alright, that's all for this video. Stay safe as always, please get enough sleep tonight, and I will see you guys in the next one.